Hi Garth's Gross Facts fam! Today I have a special and macabre true story to tell you. This is a story of a man who was found dead, trapped inside the toilet of a female restroom. Was he a peeping Tom who went to the extreme and paid the ultimate price? Or is there a more sinister reason behind the controversial circumstances of his death? I'll tell you the story and you decide. Miyakoji is a tiny village on the outskirts of Japan, with a population of just a few thousand. In 1989, Yumi Tanaka was one of the few thousand residents who'd grown up in the quaint village, where she worked as a school teacher. On February 28th, she began her workday at Dulu Village Elementary School as usual. The day was normal, uneventful even, until she was close to finishing up. She decided to take a toilet break before driving home for the night. Entering the restroom, Yumi would be shocked to find a shoe sticking out of the urinal opening. The shoe wasn't bobbing about or floating on the water. It was fixed firmly in place. A more thorough inspection of the random object in the toilet saw Yumi realize the shoe wasn't moving because it was still attached to something. The horrifying and disturbing discovery would not only haunt Yumi forever, but also uncover a mystery that still baffles people today. In the late 80s, Japan still had a lot of squat toilets. A squat toilet is exactly what it sounds like. You have to squat over it to use it. The top of the toilet is a trough-like bowl where the waste is flushed. This is where Yumi Tanaka was shocked to find a black shoe poking up toward her. Despite discovering the shoe, Yumi perhaps didn't prepare herself for what she was about to find inside the tank. The body of a man. Naturally, Yumi was shaken by the discovery, and her shrieking caused her colleagues to rush to her. The sinister scene horrified the group, and they quickly called the police. When law enforcement arrived, they tried to pull the man from his watery, waste-filled grave to no avail. He was well and truly stuck. This was no surprise, since the pipe opening they were trying to pull him from was just over a foot wide. The police and distressed witnesses believed they'd stumbled upon a macabre murder scene. This is understandable, since who would willingly climb into a septic tank and wedge themselves into the pipe? Officers on the scene had no choice but to call the fire department to help remove the man from the tank. When the firemen arrived, they had to use an excavator to dig underground and remove the pipe from the earth. Once the pipe was uprooted, it was cut open. A man's corpse lay inside, his knees in line with his head. Authorities found the man only clothed from the waist down, though he was clutching his coat on his torso. His head was facing the urinal opening. There were no injuries or blood on the body to suggest any signs of foul play. Certainly there was no way to ascertain the cause of death at first glance. The body was sent to forensics. Once cleansed from the waste, the pathologist got to work and found that the cause of death was hypothermia. This made sense since it was late February, and the weather had been especially freezing around that time. But that didn't answer why the man was in the pipe in the first place. There was nothing to suggest he'd been forced into the pipe. No defensive wounds or bruising to show he was shoved into the urinal. With the body making the news, the man's identity was quickly discovered. His name was Naoyuki Kanno, and he had been a promising member of the Miyakoji community. He worked in the local power company, and was known to be active in working with the village's youth. On the day of his disappearance, 4 days before his discovery, he left home without telling his parents where he was going. He simply told his father he was heading out to run some errands, but didn't say where. They didn't hear back from him since. After having no contact from Naoyuki by the third day, his parents began searching for him. They began scouring the local area, visiting spots Naoyuki frequented. The concerned couple didn't take long to find their son's abandoned car near a farm. Ominously, the keys were still in the car, and the vehicle was unlocked. The following day, Naoyuki was found in the piping of Dulu Village Elementary School. This left more questions than answers, however. There are a few theories on why Naoyuki was in the toilet piping. Since there were no obvious signs of Naoyuki being a victim of a callous murder, no blood or defensive wounds, it seems he crawled into the pipe of his own free will. The position he was in line with where women would squat to use the toilet. As such, he was labeled a possible peeping Tom by many. It's been reported that Yumi knew Naoyuki, and there was speculation that Naoyuki had targeted the place Yumi worked so he could spy on her as she used the bathroom. However, the Miyakoji community did not buy into the peeping Tom theory. They knew Naoyuki as a kind, reliable man, without voyeuristic predilections. When the police ruled his death as accidental, thousands of the village residents signed a petition to get the case reopened and looked into it more thoroughly. After all, the pipe Naoyuki was wedged in had a diameter of 14 inches. The average shoulder width of a man his age in Japan is 16 inches. It seems the pipe was far too narrow for Naoyuki to have got himself stuck in there of his own free will. It was suggested by many that the only way he would have gotten in the pipe was by the force of someone else pushing him in. The second theory is that Naoyuki was killed for political reasons. That year, elections for the town mayor were taking place, and Naoyuki had actively supported the town's current mayor. However, partway through the election campaign, Naoyuki allegedly withdrew his support after finding out that the mayor was paying for votes. As a result, it's alleged by some locals that the mayor ordered Naoyuki's death to ensure his cash for votes scheme remained under wraps. None of these theories have been confirmed. The most widely accepted story is that Naoyuki wedged himself in the pipe willingly, despite the wealth of evidence suggesting it was borderline impossible for him to have done so. It is inexplicable for him to have maneuvered himself inside the pipe and then manipulated his posture while in the small space. Sadly, it's unlikely we'll ever discover the truth to the most perplexing part of this story. Why was Naoyuki in the pipe? Was he a peeping Tom that paid the ultimate price? Or do you think there's some foul play involved? Let us know in the comments section below. For a daily dose of gross but interesting facts, like and share this video and subscribe to this channel. Stay curious and stay safe.